Let's just talk a little bit more about paradox. For those who are not sure what a paradox is and why I'm always speaking about things being paradoxical, the cosmos being paradoxical, life being a paradox and all these sort of things. Well, first and foremost we have to understand what a paradox is, and there's lots of varying ways in which we can speak about a paradox. There's lots of instantiations, but a paradox is two seemingly correct propositions which contradict each other. So for instance, when we look at what quantum physics tells us, that everything that they have discovered about the cosmos and what its constituents are in the quantum level tells them that there is no physical matter. It's just fluctuating fields of energy, and yet we see, feel a physical world around us, and there appears to be life and death, and there's many ways in which we can die, and nobody in their right mind would doubt the physical world as far as our senses go. But the quantum realm is outside of our senses. It's in a realm of its own. And the biggest conundrum that the world has ever been presented with is the conundrum that the quantum realm doesn't marry up with the macro, the Newtonian realm. And so scientists have been trying to find this mathematical equation that marries them both up, because it just seems so paradoxical that they don't marry up when we seem to have one world. So if they don't marry up, then we have two separate worlds. We have the quantum realm, which has laws unto itself, and then we have the Newtonian realm, which has laws unto itself. And they both operate independently, and they both operate in the same space of time and space. And when we look at big things, then we look at the Newtonian physics, and when we look at the very, very small, we'll look at quantum physics. And like I say, they both tell very, very different stories. So that's the paradox, isn't it? Because they are both seemingly very, very correct, only they contradict each other. Now, when I'm all speaking about things being paradoxical from our perspective, here's another one. It is a well-renowned adage, maxim, that our thoughts create our reality. And what that means is that our thoughts derive from our human experience, which derives from our senses and our consciousness, maybe our spirit, maybe our intuition, all things which pertain to the human experience. Our thoughts derive out of that. Where thoughts come from is anyone's guess. But when we're thinking in a certain way, those thoughts create our reality. For instance, if somebody is really depressed, then they may feel like life isn't worth living, and everything about the world is very, very dull and possibly evil and all the rest of this sort of stuff. A person who isn't depressed will say, hang on, But the sun's shining, the sky's clear, it's springtime, the birds are singing, the butterflies are flapping and the bees are buzzing. How could you say that the world is a terrible place? It's a paradox, isn't it? You know, myriad people think the world is an incredible place, and myriad people would think that the world is a terrible place. What does that depend on? It depends on their mental environment. You know, I've lived in lots of places around the world, people, and when I was living in Africa, these Africans had nothing. Mostly barefoot, with a few rags on, never knowing where the next meal was coming from, and yet they all seemed to have big beaming smiles. They had an inner constitution which blessed them, enabled them to find the beauty in life, and they were laughing and joking, and I was astounded by the happiness of these people. It was only when they started to get into the Western mind that they started to get depressed and feel negative. And this would happen when you've got Africans which would have a taste of Western money. And invariably this would be with the girls, because the girls, of course, could always earn money from Western people. Whereas the guys, what do guys want with African guys? There's invariably nothing that they want. So the Western guys, they can effectively buy the women, and they very quickly become accustomed to that. And then if times are dry and there's no clients, then they start to feel down and depressed because they can't continue with the lifestyle that they were newly acquainted with, going out and buying whatever clothes they wanted to, whereas before they couldn't buy new clothes. They'd wear old dirty clothes most of the time, seldom getting something second hand. There's lots of second hand places for clothes in Africa, and so you'd see it then. You'd see the girls dejected when they were looking at other girls who had regular Western boyfriends, and they were driving around in big cars and living in nice houses, and they had everything that they needed. Whereas the girls that never had a regular guy, sometimes they had money and sometimes they never, and so it was spits and farts, and those girls would quickly feel pretty negative. And so, looking at the girls that lived in the bush, the girls that never oriented themselves in the Western ideology or culture, they were happier for longer, and their money could never dry up because they never had any, and their rich partner could never leave them because they never had a rich partner. So you see, we've got African women born and bred in the same country, but one takes another walk of life and then is subject to feeling negative, depression and money anxiety and jealousy and angst and all these different sorts of things, where the other girls, maybe even coming from the same village, are happy just selling plantains or boiled eggs, or sitting at the side of the road boiling rice and selling some rice and sauce. Some women are not destined for that. And the girlfriend that I had when I was living in Ghana, she was told by her grandma, because she was brought up by her grandma. Invariably Africans aren't brought up by their parents. The father never sticks around, and the mothers have lots of babies, and then they pass them on to their sisters and their mums and their aunties and all this different sorts of thing to look after. And so Africans mainly are brought up by other family members, and friends and things like that. So this girlfriend that I had, she was told by her grandmother that she'd end up with a white man. And I said, well, why do you think that was? And she says, just the way I acted. She never liked working on the farm. She wouldn't do stupid menial tasks. And so her grandmother looked upon her as if she was going to work her way up to be with a white man, because she was above doing all this farm type work, you see. So I met her on the beach. I met her when she was 18, and we were together for almost 3 years, about 2.5 years, and we used to go to you want this? Yeah, she used to take me to see her grandmother and her father. Her father came to me one day and asked me if I could pay for him to take his pastor's examination. So I paid for that, and I would always pay for the family to have rice and different sorts of things, because that's the culture. You're expected to, of course. If an African, has a Western person, obviously they've got money, and obviously they pay for the daughter. And in African culture, all over Africa, Africans sell their daughters, because daughters are very valuable, because of course they create more offspring. And so when a person would have kids, then the guys wouldn't be of any value really, because they weren't worth anything to sell. The girls, they were worth potentially an enormous amount. The average sort of price, let's say, for a girl would be something like 150 goats, 50 cows, and maybe even some land to go with that from another tribe, depending on how pretty she was or what the stock she came from was, whether the chieftain was renowned for being, an impressive chieftain. And then people could say, oh, she comes from such and such a clan, this, that and the other. So, okay, I've digressed, but I often do tell stories, don't I? So the paradox, we've got the quantum and the Newtonian paradox. Then we've got the way we think about the world and life. And so we could say, look, our thoughts create our reality. And if I got stung by a bee, then I would be thinking about the pain and the discomfort, and so that would create my reality. But then someone could say, well, the external created your reality. But really, there is no external, because everything that we perceive about our life and this world goes on in internal, within our brains, within our consciousness, within our senses. And albeit we think that we can see stuff out there, we're seeing it all in our visual cortex, in the darkest, blackest regions of our brains. And so that gets really paradoxical, doesn't it? How can we see light and colours and expanses inside our skull? What is this thing called consciousness, which creates this incredible world that projects back onto the blank canvas of life? A world in the exterior which lots of people would have a general consensus about. What sort of crazy paradox is that? And so we can say, well, there is an outside world, but there's also an inside world, and the outside world can create our reality. For instance, if the cloud, the sky is black and it's freezing cold and it's the heart of winter, well, inside we're not going to feel too great, are we? Probably we're going to feel a little bit miserable. If we're a little bit subject to depression, then that will bring it on for sure. And so we could say, well, the external world is responsible for our internal world. But as I was just speaking about, with the person that is subject to depression, well, they make the external world black from their projection. And so it's kind of like, well, everything works in both ways in equal measure, doesn't it? There's nothing definitive. That's what I'm always saying, people. There's nothing definitive about this life. It's all paradoxical. Every single facet of it is paradoxical. When we look out onto a landscape or onto a garden and we proclaim that that's a beautiful vista, what's creating the beauty? Is the beauty intrinsically out there in all that stuff, or is the beauty just an idea that we have in our minds? Because we all think about beauty in a different way, don't we? You can get many people just standing here like that and you can say, what do you think about this environment? Well, fucking just grass and trees, isn't it? Fucking hell, what are you on about, Aaron? And that's literally, that would be their world. And well, of course, we've all met people like this, haven't we? And you think to yourselves, my God, it must be so sad to be you. But some of us have a heightened state of consciousness for beauty, for feeling beauty, for projecting beauty, for extracting beauty, however we do it, whatever this thing is. Whether we consider that the beauty is in those dandelions down there, or the beauty is just in my state of mind, the beauty is in my free consciousness, the beauty is in the neurotransmitters of my happy brain, because it's got all the neurotransmitters. If it didn't have all these neurotransmitters, then it wouldn't be a happy brain. So I wouldn't then be seeing the beauty in that daisy or daffodil. I'd be thinking that I'm living in a living hell, and everything around me would be hell. I've had these experiences, people. This is why I can speak about these things so profoundly. In my book, I write about this occasion where I just flipped into a demonic state of mind, and I was watching some evil shit on YouTube when I was down one of the rabbit holes, and I was going into all these paedophile rings and all the, the so-called Illuminati drinking the adrenochrome and sacrificing babies and all that. I just had to know about all this stuff. When you go down the rabbit hole, you just got to know about everything. And when you go down the rabbit holes initially, that's where you end up. You end up in the Illuminati and the Masons and the secret societies, and then you end up in that terrible, terrible realm. And of course it's still very, very prolific today, but most people, they just don't have the constitution for thinking about that because it's too horrendous. But there's been films been made about the trafficking of kids and the disappearance of hundreds of thousands of kids and all that. Where are they all going? Well, these people reckon they're going to the elite, and they're drinking their blood, the adrenochrome, and they're doing snuff movies and having orgies and all this sort of thing with very, very young children, and then of course they're killing them. And so nobody wants to think about that stuff and that side of the human being, but it's out there, people, and it's all happening. So I was looking into some of this stuff, and it just sent me into such a dark place. I almost had a panic attack when I was looking at such evil, and I was thinking, my God, if I ever got my hands on any of these people. So anyway, it flipped a switch in my brain, and then within an instant, every single thing that I was looking at for the next 18 hours, 666, for the next 18 hours was abject evil. The patterns in my duvet, evil. The configuration of shadows on the wall, evil. The trees outside, evil. The faces in the pavement, evil. Everything was absolutely horrendously evil. It was absolutely the realm of the devil. And so I know what people are speaking about when they're speaking about hell, and I know what they're speaking about when they speak about heaven, because they're both states of mind, people. And I've been into both. I've been into the state of heaven vastly more occasions than I have hell. And I wouldn't wish that upon anyone other than that they should experience it to know that it exists. And what people have been speaking about for all these years. So, when religious folk tell us that heaven is out there and hell's down there, heaven and hell are in here, people. Heaven and hell is got everything to do with your neurotransmitters, depending on how efficient your brain is working. So when we've got brains that don't work efficiently and they're not creating the appropriate amounts of serotonin, then people's minds work in very peculiar ways, and they get all different sorts of crazy thoughts and evil thoughts, and they feel traumatized, anxious, and life's not worth living. But then when they have the right amount of neurotransmitters, then the world is a very, very different place. And so, what can we say about that, people? It's very paradoxical, isn't it? Very paradoxical. And you know, on a day like today, the birds singing their sweet song of spring, and all the trees and bushes coming into their foliage and blossom, and the world is a wonderful place. But in the heart of winter, when there's not a single bird song and everything looks like it's been stricken down by some evil demon, it's all static and dead and dull, completely lifeless. It's the same world, it's just a different time. But then, you see, we can think about the world in the wintertime like that. And my old man used to have this seasonal affective disorder where each wintertime he would become depressed because he wasn't getting the appropriate amount of sun. He used to love walking out in the fields in the spring and the summer and the autumn, but when winter came he felt no joy. He couldn't extract any joy from that. But that was a mind that was subject to depression. He had a propensity towards depression, whereas I don't have a propensity towards depression. So I extract some pleasures from the winter. For instance, just watching rain drip in a puddle. Just watch the beads of rain hanging on buds in the trees and looking at your shadow in them. To see the frost and the snow and the hail and the sleet, and then to watch the trees all dancing with strong winds and all that sort of thing. So if we are pure within ourselves and we have the appropriate neurotransmitters, then the world will always show us some beauty. But if we don't have these neurotransmitters, then the world potentially can always show us a nothingness, an emptiness, a void, a flatness. People I was close to used to tell me that they go through periods of feeling flat, that life's flat. They're flatlining. There's nothing happening. They just get up and they do what they've got to do, and they just look forward every single day to being able to escape it and go to sleep. And I know some of you are like this from time to time. Maybe, long periods. So, yeah, the paradox, people. The paradox. And, I can speak Now then, look here at these things again now. You see they've got all this fluffy stuff on them. So when they first come, they have a beautiful, gorgeous yellow pollen. Well, they're very, very green to start with. Then they have a gorgeous yellow pollen. And then that goes, and then they have this white, fluffy stuff. And so all the time, everything is changing, people. Everything is in a constant state of flux. Means it's changing, it's morphing in and out of this, that and the other. And so when we look at things closely, we have to know that there's such a beauty, there's such an essence of God, of genius, of reason to live, of reason to be happy, of reason to open our senses. Right up, open our senses as far as we can possibly open them up into the world, and let all this stuff come in. Let all the beauty come in. Let all this incredible stuff, if we looked at every last detail of how these things live and how they are created, how they develop, it's just incredible. We can't find the words. We can't find the words. And that's why I am intoxicated by looking at this stuff every single day in all of its forms, never missing anything. In actual fact, between now and when I come back tomorrow, I would have missed so much. I would have missed lots of little beautiful nuances, because literally this stuff is changing. You can, if you stood and watched it, you could watch these leaves grow and you watch this stuff change. I've got a big, I don't know what it is, some sort of, it's a big plant anyway, big leaves in my toilet. And when it starts to shoot new leaves, literally I watch them grow. Every time I go to the toilet and I stand urinating, I'm looking at these leaves, and it's almost like I can see them grow, because literally they are growing by about 1 millimetre an hour or something like that. And every day, every morning, then I go, wow, you're different today, you've even grown overnight. And so, yeah, it's unbelievable, people. And so I think we'll just have a little bit of a walk in this wood, shall we? It's only a tiny little slither of a wood, but let's just go in. A lot of brambles around. How many times have you seen videos like this of me? Just leaning and hugging a tree and feeling that energy and absorbing the energy of the woods and feeling very DMT-like. It's kind of like dreamy, it's godly, it's out of this realm consciously. It tells you that you're everything. You are the cosmos. This life is you. It's just a reflection of you. It's all life. It's all consciousness. It's all fluctuating energy. It's all a mirage. It's all a dream. Because we don't know what anything is. We don't comprehend anything. These, like brackets, now those ones, to my knowledge, are not edible. They're too tough, but I think probably this would they look very much like a beach polypore. White on the top and usually white underneath until they get older. But they don't really get that hard unless it's been very, very dry and they've completely dried out. But they are super miracle herb or fungi. They are superb for anti-inflammatory, and I was taking these polypores about a pint a day for 6 months, and it cured me of all my inflammatory diseases. I used to have cold sores, never had them again since I took that. I used to have swollen feet and ankles and pain in my feet, never had it again since I was taking that. I used to have inflammation in my lower lumbar, never had it again since that. And so there's something to be said for these natural remedies, people. But doctors don't know anything about that shit, they just want to give you poison. The thing is, when I come into woods, my body just goes, and I become sedated, and I become intoxicated, and I become a little bit drowsy and a little bit dreamy, and it's kind of like the wood wants me to go down, lay down and go sleep. This is what always happens when I'm in woods. The woods are beguiling me to lay down and sleep with them. Why? What is this energy that makes you go sleep? People, it is said from ancient folklore that if you go sleep beneath a tree around midday, then the pixies will come and take you out of your body. So you'll have an out-of-body experience. And sleeping in an unusual place at an unusual time for lots of people is a very ideal way to have an out-of-body experience. And so these folklores, they are not without foundation, people. Not without foundation. And then when you see on these fairy tale books for children this red and white mushroom, which has always been reputed to be poisonous, they're most certainly not poisonous. If you eat them raw, they'll make you vomit. So your stomach isn't in agreement with them. But if you dry them out, which transforms one of the chemicals into another chemical. So in these mushrooms you have two chemicals. One is ibotenic acid, and it's the ibotenic acid which will make you vomit. But if you dry them out, you convert the ibotenic acid into muscimol, and the muscimol is the beneficial chemical from these mushrooms. It will give you some sort of a psychedelic experience, only there's no visions. Your mind just embodies and is open to entities, not nefarious entities. And so in my book I write about this. When I take Amanita muscaria, I have lived, a wolf came to live vicariously through me. A Viking lived vicariously through me. A very, very primal man lived vicariously through me, and I could feel their energies, and I acted like them for about 10 minutes on each occasion. And it was so powerful. My body was absolutely vital. I felt 10, 15 years younger. This Amanita muscaria is incredible, and that's why it is reputed that the Vikings used to drink Amanita muscaria juice before they came on their berserking rampages, because they make you feel like 10 men. They give you so much power and strength. absolutely incredible. So I've had so many experiences, so many supernatural, paranormal, spiritual experiences, and that's why I speak like I do, people. And I wonder how many of you really tuned into this in my book. How many of you really tuned into the profundity of what I'm saying? Only those who have had similar sort of experiences would have considered what I was speaking about remotely interesting. Otherwise, it'd just be just like reading a novel. You're not there, you weren't present. If someone's speaking about being in a palace and being, I don't know, a king or something like that, then how many people would really get into that role? How many people would really feel it? How many people could actually really know what it would be like to be like that? No one, unless you've been royalty and you've been treated in such a way and you've had all those privileges. So, I started with a paradox, and so I'll finish somehow with the paradox. So if we contemplate the nature of what we are, well, we're two things, aren't we? With this physical body, and you know how many of these spiritualists say, we're not the physical body, we're not the physical body. We are the physical body, but we're also the spiritual body. And you see, I don't know whether the spiritual body takes such precedent over the physical body. I think there's a time and a place for both. Because here, in this reality, the physical body is a thing to be reckoned with. And so when spiritual people, just because they've heard it somewhere, say, we're not the body, no, we are the fucking body. And we're the body for as long as, you know, we live in this dimension, in this vibration, on this planet, in this life. You know, up to 100 years, that sort of thing. We are the body. But some of us can get in touch with the spirit also, and we know that we are spirit. It's not like we have a spirit, and it's not like we have a body. We are the body, we are the spirit, we are the ego, we are the consciousness, we are the world, we are the cosmos. We are it, people. Everything. We are it. There's not a single thing. Look, if you can imagine, if you think, oh, we're not Jupiter, we're not Mars, Aaron. No, of course we are, because without our consciousness enveloping those things, then we would never be aware of them. So they are inside our consciousness. So they are us. Every single thing that we are aware of becomes us. It is us. It's our consciousness which is aware of it. So the Pleiades is us. All these constellations in the sky, all, you know, those three stars on Orion's belt, which are have been replicated or copied by the three pyramids on Giza. You know, it's all us, people. Every single bit of it is us. This is what we are. I'm that crow in the distance. I'm this tree. I'm these leaves. I'm this air, I'm this sunshine, I'm this body, I'm this spirit, I'm this consciousness, I'm this flesh and blood, I'm this crunching beneath my feet, I'm the twigs that I'm crunching beneath my feet. You know, isn't it bizarre for videos such as this to get such an incredibly minuscule viewing, to not be considered to be of interest? Most certainly, the algorithms don't consider that videos like this are worth anything, to the main body of the populace of the world. Because if the algorithms consider that, hey, human beings, you really need to know about this stuff, then they would ensure that videos like this become first in people's algorithms. But as it is, the algorithms, whether they are nefariously tuned and programmed to always be feeding you something like adverts and things that they can sell you, and how they want to control you and what they want you to know. Of course, this is all going on, isn't it? So who is doing this? Of course, AI is doing it more and more, because the programmers are becoming more and more refined. And so when we look at our feed, people, in our YouTube, then we may think that the world is a certain way, and we may be thinking that, oh, lots of people think like me because of what's coming up in your feed. But what's coming up in your feed is precisely because that's what it knows you like, so it keeps sending you the same old stuff, which isn't a precise and accurate representation of the world or other people. It's very, very refined just for you. And so when I look in my feed, I've got very similar videos to what I normally watch, and of course you have too. But every so often what happens is I show up in your feed, and lots of people always go, fuck, I don't know why you showed up in my feed, you weirdo. But I fucking listened to your video and I was pretty intrigued, so I watched another one, and now I'm hooked. Few people get hooked. How many people click on my videos and see me standing in the woods and go, what's this fucking dude with his stupid beard and his dreadlocks? Fucking idiot. You know, where's my unboxing videos? Or whatever people tune into these days. Of course, we all tune into a whole myriad variety of stuff. And, you know, we can't chastise anyone for liking this and dismissing that, because it's not about the individuals, it's about consciousness collectively. That's what's happening here, people. So once we get inside our heads, once we get, or rather outside maybe of our heads, into the greater expanse of consciousness, then we have so much more inner standing about what's going on. The whole world needs a variety, because consciousness is experiencing itself, and so consciousness keeps creating and creating, and it's creating all these beings to experience a certain something about this dimension. It's created flies to experience a certain something. It's created rats to experience a certain something. Then you've got moles and pigeons and all different sorts of stuff. All these specks of consciousness to experience something and to gather data in its own unique way. So that's what this thing is, this genius brilliance of God, cosmic consciousness. That's what's happening, people, and we're all in the mind of it. We're not individual, we're all in the mind of this dream, of this God, because we can't find the root of any of this stuff. We can't find the root of what we are. We can't find the I. We've got no idea what the I is. We can create a fiction of what me, I. And then you go, what? The body? The body isn't you. Who's speaking? I don't know who's speaking. The brain speaking? Well, where's the consciousness come from? It doesn't come from the brain. Well, if consciousness doesn't come from the brain or the body, then where am I? And who actually is speaking? Good question. Who are you? Who is speaking? Where do your thoughts come from? And all this sort of stuff. We end up in a paradox, people. We end up in a very, very bizarre paradox as soon as we start to think about any of these things. All roads lead to Rome. We end up back in the paradox. we end up in the abyss of not knowing anything. We can't know anything for sure. We just think we do, we just imagine that we do. And our imagination keeps us content within this realm. Oh, that's a tree and these are sticks and they're leaves. But when we go, well, what really are trees and sticks and leaves? Oh, they're just concepts for things. Well, what are these things? Oh, well, trees and woods and branches, and then they die and then they go crunchy and crispy and brittle. Well, what's crunchy and what's crispy and what's brittle? Well, just concepts. So we go down and down and down and down and down to the smallest of concepts, and we end up just going on to other concepts and other concepts and other concepts, and we go round and round and round in a circle about concepts. And so we say to ourselves, well, our consciousness, our life then basically is just a circle, an infinite circle of consciousness. It goes round, it keeps eating its tail consistently. It's eating its tail, it's looking for itself and it can't find itself. It's devouring itself. It's in its frustration, it's devouring itself. It's eating feverishly, trying to gobble up all this information. But what does it get? Nothing. It just keeps slipping through your fingers. You look into your hand, it's an empty hand. There's nothing there. It's an empty brain. There's nothing there. There's just ideas, like Plato said, forms and ideas. That's all that's here, people. Forms and ideas, just like when we dream at night. Forms and ideas, because there's nothing there, is there? So it's no different in this dimension, people. It is different. It's a more complex variety of a dream, but it's a dream. It's a dream, people. And every time I say it's a dream, I absolutely know that I'm dreaming. Absolutely 1,000,000,000% aware that I am dreaming. I am cosmic God consciousness, and I am dreaming my reality. And it's amazing, it's incredible. I'm dreaming your reality. I'm dreaming every single thing that I perceive via my consciousness. It's all a very, very elaborate, incredible, mystical dream. Isn't it wonderful?